to Capitol tonight. A fight over a curriculum change in New York City has sparked a national debate. Education officials announced over the summer that comprehensive sex ed, including information about birth control, sexually transmitted diseases, different sexual practices, will be required in middle and high schools, public schools that is. Now parent groups and several elected officials are pushing for the schools to offer an abstinence-only alternative. My next guest is the executive director of the group at the center of this fight, the New York City Parents' Choice Coalition. You might recognize him, former Assemblyman Michael Benjamin. He is joining me from Manhattan this evening. Michael, it is good to see you.
St. Louis, thank you. Thank you for having me.
And welcome back to Capitol tonight. It's been a little while. So upstate viewers may not be familiar, although if they've been on the internet, they might have seen this, particularly Huffington Post has blown the whole thing up. Just give us the synopsis of what's going on here.
In the last few months, Mayor Bloomberg and Chancellor Walcott have decided they wanted to institute a citywide mandate for sex education in our schools. One semester in the 6th grade and 7th grade, and another semester either 9th or 10th grade. We've looked at the curriculum. There are two, and we found that they're not age appropriate. And one of the curricula require or has a referral to a rather explicit website, Go Ask Alice, and it's something that's really stirred up parents. They want the children to get sex education, but from an abstinence perspective, and not a perspective that's a wink and a nod, where you can say, well, don't have sex, but in case you do, use a condom, do X, Y, and Z. Those are things that we are very much concerned with, and parents themselves are not in agreement.
Okay, so I just checked out Go Ask Alice. It's actually a site that Columbia University runs, and while there are, and it's really run for the university population, for kids who are probably 18 and older, right? And
yes.
it has a lot of stuff on there about nutrition, about stress, and also questions that are of a rather explicit nature, some of them, not all of them, when it comes to sex. So I guess I understand your concern, although I have also seen quotes from Dennis Walcott, who is the New York City Schools Chancellor, saying that we're not ignoring abstinence, but their concern is that the out-of-wedlock pregnancy rate for teens and the abortion rate is very high, and so clearly kids are not getting the message. They are having sex. To pretend it's not happening is perhaps a little foolish.
And we're not pretending that it's not happening. We are in agreement. We need to have sex education in our schools. What we disagree upon is how it should be done. We believe it should be done from an abstinence perspective, where it's about total risk avoidance. You don't have teen pregnancies if you avoid. You don't have abortions if you avoid. That's what we're talking about, in empowering young people to be able to avoid those sorts of outcomes. And what's happened over the last 20 years is that New York City has not had an effective sex education program. They've run away from it. 20 years ago, there was a fight as to whether or not we would even have it. So they made it optional for high schools to have the program. And that's the problem. Now that it's not optional, we're saying have one that respects the values of our parents, who prefer one that's abstinence-based, abstinence-centered. The current program is more about condom use and not becoming pregnant. That's the problem. They're not focusing on abstinence. They're not focusing on risk avoidance.
Okay, so it seems to me, though, that what we're really talking about here is merely a tempering of approach. I mean, it would be okay with you if whoever was teaching these mandated classes said to the students, sex is probably not a great idea at this moment in your life because you're too young, because you should have commitment, because you're not ready to handle the consequences, etc. As long as they were coming at it from that angle, you would be okay with this curriculum, or you want the whole thing scrapped and started again?
We don't want it scrapped at all. We're saying put side by side this current curriculum, the two that you're using, Health Smart and Reducing the Risk, and have a third curriculum that's abstinence-centered that parents can choose.
Oh,
they
can
take a look
choose.
under the law. Allow them to choose. This mayor believes in choice. If we have choice between a charter school and a regular public school, why not, during this week where they're partnering with parents, allow them to choose a curriculum that best reflects their interests? Over the last several weeks, DOE has waffled and has gone to different levels. First they said they have the two curricula, that's what they use. Now they're saying it's only recommended. Today they're saying that, well, it's recommended, but a principal and a health teacher can choose something else. What is it? You know, we're leaving ourselves open. We're only suggesting is that we provide parents with choice.
Okay.
Allow them to choose an abstinence-centered program that reflects their interests. And we know abstinence-centered programs work. There are 22 that have been evidence-based and supported by the data. You have a mayor that believes in data. Well, the data says that abstinence-based programs are effective, and there are 22 of them that are highly effective and have the same rate, or a greater rate of putting off, delaying early sexual initiation. And then for those who are active, has a higher rate of condom use in avoiding that risk.
Okay.
Yes.
Before we're going to run out of time soon, I do want to ask you this, though. Do you hear anything, because I know that you're pretty plugged in on this particular topic, about a statewide mandate of sex ed? Because this is something that happens in the city, and sometimes when something is coming out of the city, and it's particularly controversial, it sets the bar for what happens around the state. So have you heard anything about that?
No, we haven't, but maybe there ought to be one. But if there is to be one, it should be one that also includes a choice, an option to choose, one that is abstinence-centered, that focuses on abstinence and not so much on a wink and a nod saying, well, you know, kids will be kids, they'll have sex, but they should protect themselves. And one that's going to be factually, medically based, that's going to allow you to understand that condoms are not 100% effective. You know, condoms and abstinence are not equals. They are not equals, and that's what the current program says, that they're equal choices for young people.
Well, I don't know that it says that specifically, but it seems you're suggesting that
it's presented that way.
Imply that. I see. Okay. Well, listen, I just want to ask you a very quick question. There's a new bill out there. It's sort of related that I believe is being pushed by several Democrats that suggests that schools should be mandated to teach kids to recognize and report sexual abuse. I assume that's also a touchy subject, obviously, and I'm not trying to create a pun there, obviously. But are you okay with that?
Children reporting sex abuse that's in their own lives and in the lives
that they're taught
of their
about
friends?
to recognize and report sexual abuse.
I would have no objection to them understanding, you know, that there are times when certain touching is not appropriate and certain individuals are not appropriate, and they should be able to report it. Because a lot of times, you know, they're intimidated by adults. So the better we can arm our children, whether it's from sexual predators or from other kinds of predators who want adolescents to have sex early. We need to arm our children, and we're
that is an interesting statement, Michael Benjamin. Okay, unfortunately, we are out of time. We'll be seeing you again, I'm sure. In the meantime, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.